welcome to What the Heal. My name is Maria Sellars, and I have the honor of being joined by Kaci Ruiz today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, I am so excited that you wanted to come on this show because I remember when I was first sitting with you in Heal and just hearing your story, and I was like, I was so inspired sitting there. I still get chills just thinking about that. So
You're so kind.
you're so amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it really, what you shared with me then is incredible. So I'm excited for others to get to hear your story and your journey of hope and healing and inspiration, because truly that is what this episode is. And I know that people's hearts are going to be touched in the same way that mine was. So,
Well, I hope I can provide some hope for someone out there that that just really needs it today, for sure.
That's a beautiful gift to share. So thank you. Tell us what the heal has gone on in your world.
So my story starts about 11 years ago. My husband and I had just gotten married. And about 6 months after that, I was involved in a car accident that changed my life. I was hit from behind by a driver that was distracted, and I ended up breaking my neck. So it was not like a clean break; it was like a fracture, but it did cause enough damage that I had an underlying autoimmune disease that I was unaware of that just flared out of control. I had never had anything before this that happened. And so I'm in the hospital, I'm trying to recover from this, but at the same time, I had other things that were happening all at the same time. So my organs started shutting down. I started getting sores in my mouth, sores in my nose, nosebleeds, high fevers. Like nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. And so I bounced around to a couple of different hospitals here in Central Florida, and it's like nobody could tell me why my body was just shutting down. And so I got to a point where I called my family back home in Houston. I said, hey guys, something is really wrong. Like something is really, really wrong. Like my doctors are getting ready to put me on hospice care. Like I'm 23 years old. What am I supposed to do? You know, they can't tell me why, but I'm dying, you know? And so my mother and my aunts, they're both nurses. They're all nurses. And so they took one look at my legs, the picture, I had sent a picture of my legs, and I probably was holding 30 pounds of fluid on my legs. In fact, you can still see the striations where that weight was put. That was just from my kidneys not working, my heart not working, not pushing fluids, and not retaining enough albumin in the bloodstream to hold cell structure. And they were like, yeah, we think we know what that is, but you need to come back to Texas. And so I basically moved back to Texas, you know, leaving my husband and our new married life here. So one of us had to work.
Right.
And I moved back home, and I ended up being diagnosed with a very aggressive form of systemic lupus, and that was at MD Anderson in Houston. Now, there are 6 different forms of lupus. I'm sure you may have heard that term thrown around with some people, such as Selena Gomez. There are some that say Michael Jackson had it, and that's part of why he was in so much pain all the time. I think Seal also has it. So this is a disease that it's really shared by a lot of different people groups, and it really doesn't care what age you are. But it is very difficult to diagnose unless you really know what you're looking at. And so it took me about 3 years of trial and error, different kinds of medicines, and nothing worked. Because there's really not a whole lot of true medicines on the market specifically for lupus. For lupus, they typically will take a medicine like an anti-malarial or something like that, and then it's a secondary purpose is to treat autoimmune disease, and then they will just keep throwing stuff like that at you. So there's not a lot of medicine specifically for lupus. Now they have it. This is like 10 years later, right? But at the time of my diagnosis, they just weren't available.
It's kind of like a blanket.
Right.
And there's multiple different strains of lupus. So it's like, oh, let's try this one and
Exactly,
this one.
exactly. And systemic lupus is the hardest one to treat because it's systemic, which means that it encompasses all of the body. The body doesn't recognize the difference between a foreign invader and what it's like a healthy cell, and so it just destroys everything. So it's hard to explain, but basically every part of the body is attacked. The skin, the organs, the bones, the connective tissue, all of it. And so in that time, I lost my ability to walk. My upper body contractured. I could not move my hands beyond this. I could not even go to the bathroom by myself. I had to have somebody to help me do that, to shower, to bathe. And I just kept getting sicker, but we tried everything. And I started to really look into different forms of medicine, because being from the Western hemisphere, I think of medicine as like a pill. I don't consider, at that point, I did not consider other forms of medicine, like I was not considering, food, dietary change as a medicine, or even like treating my mind, because the mind is so connected with the body. And I did not realize how much my mental outlook of the world affected my physical body.
That is so,
Yeah.
all of those things you just said
Yeah.
are so powerful. And just starting with that, like, hang on, there's some things that I can do too.
Exactly. And not just waiting for somebody to say, here's the next medicine to try, but being proactive about that. So in that season, obviously I changed my diet a lot. I started juicing because I really was trying to get as much nutrient that I could into my body, especially when I really didn't feel like eating, just because the medicines are very hard on your stomach. And so anyway, I went through a lot of trial and error trying to find something that worked, and I just kept progressively getting sicker. I ended up moving back to Florida because one of the doctors that was treating me in Houston had a colleague that specialized in my underlying disease, which is glomerulonephritis, not caused by lupus, but it's kind of like a secondary to lupus, so it's just an advanced kidney disease.
Okay.
Your kidneys are filters. Basically, the filters, instead of putting the protein back into the bloodstream where it belongs, you throw it out through the urine. And so that causes quite a bit of damage, as you can imagine. So I will never forget, I went to Boca Raton, which is where this particular doctor and his team are located, and I needed to know exactly how advanced this kidney disease was. Of course, I still had the fluid. I still couldn't walk, still couldn't do much of anything.
How long were you out in Houston for?
I was in Houston for probably 3 years.
Okay.
Like back and forth. I mean, I would go into Houston, I would switch medications, I would go back to Florida to live to see if it was doing well. And then like 6 months later, I'd have to check back in. But I had to have like a team here that could help me because, like I said, I was very ill. Like I could not do anything for myself. And God bless my in-laws, because we lived with them at the time, and I wouldn't have been able to survive without them. Like, they were just so, I know some people don't like their in-laws. I love mine and they love me. So it was really a great season for familial growth, you know
Yes.
what I mean? But obviously our life did not look the way that we thought it was going to look whenever we got married. But we never lost hope. And that was something that was so like strong, especially in our marriage, because we were scared. We were so scared. And some days we didn't even know how to be as scared as we probably should have been. But I went down to Boca Raton. I had this biopsy to see what stage the kidney disease was in. And I will never forget, my doctor, who had actually left the hospital for the night, came into my room in his blue jeans because he came back to the hospital after he got the results. And he sat on my bed, and we were, pretty close because he's about my age, right? Yeah. Wow. And he was like, hey, we need to start chemo tonight. This is not a drug that is for your disease, but I think that this particular chemotherapy will be effective at basically shutting down your immune system so that we have a chance to save your life. Because if you don't, you're gonna die pretty quickly. Like you probably will last only a few more weeks. And we didn't know. We didn't even know that the chemo was gonna work, And so, of course, we got the doctors coming in like, hey, do you want to save your eggs? I'm like, I'm just focused on saving my life right now. Like, I'm good. Like, if I'm not able to have children, we'll just adopt. It's fine. And I don't mean that because I'm going through the adoption process now. Like, it's a lot of paperwork. So, like, I don't mean to say that flippantly. Like, but at that point, I was just so focused on saving my life. I was not interested in being fertile, and that's fine.
Totally.
But it was really scary. I stayed overnight. It was St. Patrick's Day that night, and because we were kind of in YOLO mode, my husband brought up beer and pizza. So we partied on the chemo floor, and I got really sick. But it was still a good memory in my mind. But yeah, so I just, it was really touch and go for a little while there, but I got worse in some ways because the chemo was really intense. You know, you don't want to eat, you lose your hair. I did not realize kind of the nerve endings get stripped off in my legs and stuff, and I had no idea that I'd like, you know, you hear about the basic chemo treatment things, losing your hair, not feeling good, and just being tired and vomiting and stuff. They don't tell you anything about like with the other stuff that happens. But it was in those seasons that I really, really became intimate in my faith and in deciding that I was going to be peaceful. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but
yes.
But learning the discipline of peace in the midst of an absolute chaos. And I'm proud to say that I'm still here.
Yay.
I did 6 months of chemotherapy. It was really, really hard. For this particular type of chemotherapy, you can only have a certain amount in your lifetime. And I almost hit my lifetime amount in that 6 months because we were just throwing darts at a dartboard, trying to see what stuck. Like, I still have my port scar. So it's, can't remember. No, it's on this side. So it's,
yep.
it's right there.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just grateful. I'm just really grateful that I had a doctor that was proactive enough to try, because I could tell he was as scared as I was. So like I said, he was my age. I can't imagine how many young patients he's had that probably died under his care.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine he was probably really scared. So. But yeah, it's just learning the discipline of peace, because that's not something that can be prescribed. It's not something that can be purchased. It's not something that you can ingest. Yes. It is truly a discipline. And learning how to sit in that discipline, regardless of what is going on around you, is probably the most precious thing that you can really cultivate in your life, in your marriage, in the relationship that you have with the people around you. You know,
it's so true. I just did a post the other day, and my caption was just, peace isn't something you find, it's something you create.
Yes, yeah.
And then
same spirit, yeah.
Here we are, you know, chatting into that, because it's so true.
Yeah.
Life is always going to be out there lifing, and sometimes it lifes us pretty fucking hard.
Yeah. Yes.
And in those times, to still be able to hold in and be, this is where I am, and I can still feel peace in this process while I go through something as heavy as facing death.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
I know it's so long ago, but like, it's still, you know, when you're faced with your own mortality, you know, that's hard, especially when it's not really me that I was concerned so much about as much as my husband, you know.
Newlyweds.
My husband waited 29 years to meet me. So, lucky guy.
I mean, yes.
But it was just, you know, it was a lot. And there was a lot of lost dreams in that season. There was a lot of disappointment in that season, you know. But, and even now, we still struggle with the disappointment, you know, because after the fact, after I finished the chemo and after I went into the remission, then you really begin to, the words the people would say really started to resonate. You will never have children. You will never at that point, they were telling me I would never walk again, at
And
that point.
here you are. She wears heels and
Oh, even better. So I decided I was going to be well. And if I was going to be well, I was going to do every possible thing that I could. So now I actually do half marathons, and I'm training like for a triathlon, and it's my goal to run my first marathon before I'm 40. So these are things that, people say and doctors will say, and it's not that the doctors are evil, because they're not evil. Doctors are not evil. They are working with the best knowledge that they have, and they're just trying to share odds so that you can be prepared for what is to be accepted. Beautiful. I don't believe that they're evil. They're people just like us, Exactly. They're just trying to work with the tools that they have. That being said, though, those are just percentages. Those are just chances. There is a chance that you'll never walk again, or there is a chance that you'll never really be able to run again, or that you'll never be able to get pregnant, or whatever the case may be. That doesn't mean that that's your story, though. Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you for that advice, right? Yeah. But hang on, I kind of want to play a part in my story too, and to hold that, and that's so important to do when you're given these diagnoses and things like that. And it's like, beautiful, thank you. Yeah. But that doesn't have to be it. But there's a 1% chance there. All right, watch me take it. Yeah. I'm gonna be that 1% who does walk again.
Exactly.
And that's, to be able to tap into that space can be really challenging in those moments.
Well, you can find a peace in being told you're never going to walk again and then never walk again. You can find a peace in that. You can accept that and learn to live life without that. But what if you closed your eyes and thought to yourself, what is the life that I want for myself? Like, what do I want to see myself doing if I had no restrictions, right? And is there something that I can do? Maybe not to get to that point, because let's be honest, I would love to climb Mount Everest. I don't know that I ever will be able to do that, mostly because I don't want to go through cold, and I don't do cold. But
I'm with you.
Yeah. But what if I could run my local 5K? Oh, I did a 5K. What if I could do a 10K? What if I could do a half marathon? And I may never get to that end goal, but what if I could start?
Yeah.
What if I could just start,
What if I could just put one foot in front of the other?
Yeah. I mean, when I first started running, I was not running for time. Yeah. No, we're looking for that completion medal. That's what I want. So I'm not worried about timing, and I'm not worried about doing better than somebody else. I'm worried about doing what I can do today. You know what I'm saying?
And that's such a beautiful space to allow yourself to live in, right? Because so often it's we feel like we have to compare to what other people are doing, what's going on out there, how do I measure up against them? But it's just this is my best today.
Right. Well, I mean, we play the comparison game. I mean, we can't help it. We live in an age where we're constantly online, and everybody posts the best parts of their life on Facebook, or TikTok or whatever. Last night, I posted a picture of my husband and I at Universal Studios. Now, somebody that lives in a different state is probably thinking, she goes there all the time. I'm I got free tickets from a friend. I can't afford to go to Universal all the time. Yeah. So if people don't see that, but I think we should talk about our struggles more. We should be more open about our vulnerability, because it helps other people to say, oh, that person is not, above being hurt or above being in their low place. There is comfort.
Of the human experience.
Yeah, there's comfort in the journey between us,
Yes, I agree. Actually, Dimitri, he said something to me when I asked him to be on the podcast, and he said, okay. And he's because he's I've been working on loving myself, but now I need to love myself out loud. Aww. And I was that's so perfect, because those are the places where we can step up and say, here's what I've been through. Here's what I've grown through. Here's where I've messed up or been less than, and love ourselves out loud in that way. And I'm and there it is, showing up again. Yeah.
Well, that's so funny. I know Dimitri. Yeah. I love him. He is such a light. If you ever get the opportunity to meet him in real life, like I just want to hug him every time I see him because he's just the sweetest person. But it's hard for me to think, how does he not love himself? Like he's
Out
so
loud,
easy
yeah.
to love. You know?
Letting people see those parts.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's just so easy to love, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, like I resonate with that. I do, you know.
Yeah.
Whenever I was going through my illness, I would get so mad at myself. I get so mad at my body about all the things that it couldn't do, you know. And how could my own body betray me like this,
Yeah.
you know? My body's not working, but my mind is going full speed, you know? And just the prednisone and everything. I put on a lot of weight all at one time, on top of the fact that I was holding so much fluid.
Right.
And on top of the fact that I lost all my hair. So, like, I was feeling real good about myself. So,
There.
yeah. So that, I mean, it's hard, you know? I get it, you know? It's hard, especially when you don't feel lovable, you know? You know?
And you got to reach really deep down in there and hold on to that space that's there.
Right.
And I think that you've just done such an amazing job of working on yourself, like, truly, and getting yourself to this place and point with the journey that you've been on, because it was a struggle. Like, there was nothing easy about that path that you went on, and to really having to lean into yourself, to your faith, to your family, and to allow your community to hold you in that time, and still hold yourself through that process as well too.
Thank you. I think sometimes that part is hard, is allowing other people to step in when you're so angry and you're hurting so much, to accept the fact that my value is not based upon what I can offer other people. You know, I'm not valuable because I can go to work, or because I can run races or whatever. That's not where my value is. My value is in loving other people. It's in helping where I can, you know. You may not be able to do much, but like, I can go to your house and water your flowers for you while you're on vacation, you know. But it's not even about what services you can provide. It's just by being, you know.
And what a gift that is, to tap into and to recognize how important just being really is.
Yeah.
And I imagine having a near-death experience helps you to tap into what the value of just being present is, instead of being caught up in all of the BS of the outside world.
It's true. Well, that's where you go back to where you said making peace. You have to learn how, again, peace is a discipline. You know, it's something that you have to learn how to cultivate. It is a choice that you have to make. You know, at the time that we're filming this, it's a very busy season. A lot of people are rushing around. There's a lot of presents to buy. There's a lot of parties to go to and family functions that none of us want to go to. But again, it's creating that peace regardless of where you find yourself. It's that choice, you know. Yeah. Whether you have a diagnosis that is disappointing, or losing a job that you love, or maybe a relationship is not going the way that you want it to, you know. There's a lot of disappointment, but either you can choose to be disappointed, and there's nothing wrong with that. I believe we were created with a full range of emotions, and we're supposed to use all of them
Feel
appropriately.
them all, yes.
Exactly. But when you're done, you have to let that go. You can't sit in that space. You've got to, again, find your peace, because the only person that those emotions are hurting are yourself, you know. And it's okay to feel them. You should feel them in healthy, productive ways. Just don't stay there.
Just don't let yourself get stuck in the suck.
Yes, I love that. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. You are just such an incredible light in this world. I appreciate your energy so much, and I'm so grateful that you came on to share your story. I told you all, it's pretty amazing. The fact that you're here today and you show up in the ways that you do, and truly you inspire others. It's like they don't even have to know your story to feel the energy of it. And
Thank you.
That's a gift, girl.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to leave the listeners with before you sign off?
I would encourage our listeners to choose one thing, just one thing this week that you think would make your life better. So whether that's reading 15 minutes before bed, or maybe you just have been putting off vacuuming the floor, or you've been, letting the mail stack up or whatever, pick just one thing. And even if you only do one small step, like maybe just bring the vacuum outside, maybe it's just making the bed, maybe it's just one small thing, just do that one thing this week. You don't even have to commit to doing it for 6 weeks. You don't have to commit to doing it for the rest of your life. Just do it this week, just that one thing, because those disciplines, the behavioral disciplines, are going to help the mental discipline of creating peace in your mind.
So powerful. It's like people feel like we have to make it so much bigger and do all the things. And it's really hard to keep up with doing all of the things, but focusing in and just like giving yourself that grace and space to do one thing and allowing that to be enough.
Right.
Instead of caught up where it's got to be too much.
Well, I mean, you look at it, it's like, I have to do all of these things. I mean, yeah, you do got to get around to all of them at some point, but I'm not asking you to do all of them. I'm asking you to pick one. Pick the easy one.
Yeah. I know. Start there. Beautiful.
Exactly. Like whenever you're kids and your mom's like, all you kids need to do all these chores, just pick the easy one.
Yeah. Love that so much. I'm so honored to.
Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. So grateful to have you on and for you to share your story with everyone. So thank you, Kaci. You're amazing. You're all amazing too. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.